Hey, what's up everybody? Tim Sisler here, Arthur Solomon, and we got a full-time kingdom worker, part-time business manager, or business owner, Rudys Mosketti here, guys. He's run Rudys Smokehouse for how long?
Since 2005, so 15 years.
Yeah, and he's got a great story, guys. He's going to share a lot with us today, so let's get it going.
40 years in the restaurant business, not 15.
Well, because you haven't just done Rudy.
That's right. Yeah, 40 years. 43 years, actually.
You're a franchise owner at Perkins.
Perkins Family Restaurants, first job, first experience in the food industry. And within 2 years of that job, I had an opportunity in Springfield. They just opened up a failed Perkins Family Restaurant chain. And 3 other gentlemen and I got involved and basically came down with beer money. And I remember in the negotiations at one point in time, that was the word that was used. The seller said to me, it's interesting you're trying to strike a better deal with beer money. And I think it was a hard reality to me is that we were here pressuring into the seller. So it was going to be an owner finance deal. That's the only way we were going to buy it. So that's how the opportunity arose to get involved in the restaurant business. It was a goal of mine from the start. I had written that down in 1976, just a year after I married Diane, my partner in life. We began the journey of writing down goals and objectives as a focus for what we do. And one of those goals was to be in business within 2 years of me taking the job with Perkins. And as God would have it, in His blessings, January 1978, we're looking at these stores in Springfield, Ohio that were failing. My partners and I got involved in it. We came down with beer money and leveraged into the sellers' financing, and within relatively 2 years, we had the storerooms organized. That's what we were good at.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, we literally came in and began to put the recipe for hard work into that organization, and it showed. The employees recognized that they had new owners, and I remember very specifically one of our meetings, the 3 partners wanted to introduce ourselves as supervisors, and that was a day of exposure for me as to where my partners were, because I couldn't understand why, if it's our desire to have them turn left when they're moving right, why they'd want to introduce a third party, someone else is telling you to turn left. And so very quickly, I recognized that I was probably the only one that had a desire to be in business. Yeah. That was a trigger for me to grow my business skills. So, as you go down that list of laundry list of things that you need to have the skill sets in business, that's where I began my journey.
Would you say, just curious, that you were a born entrepreneur, or was that developed over the years with hard work and dedication and having a plan?
Well, I think hard work and dedication is essential in any endeavor that has a worthiness to it. To be a good Christian is not just claiming you're a good Christian, it's reading the Bible. And I have a great story there how I began my Christian life, and to the extent that Bible was on the bedroom cabinet where I sleep and never was open. But you go into my library, wherever that was, where the books were, and you found better man, better businessman, better everything except better Christian. So it wasn't until someone challenged me to open up the Bible, the only book in life that has any significance to the living part of life. I was not a Christian. I was just I knew God, but so does the devil. He knows Jesus as well. So anyway, where were we as far as the business? I ended up, what was the question?
Were you born an entrepreneur?
Well, I was not born. I was born with a high skill set of athletic abilities, and I had a desire to be a professional baseball player, and that journey was was ingrained, and so there I was, very much there. And then one day I wasn't, and after serving time in Vietnam, I got stationed in Hawaii, and I remember being on a beach all by myself, and it was an enlightening moment for me to know and feel Christ, because I was basically in tears, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was 24 years old. All the people that I grew up in school with, those peers, were graduating from college, and there I was, still in the service. And I cried out to God, and I said, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And a revelation, the words shifted in the sentence, and the question became, who are you? And I went down the list. My hair was receding. I went down the list of who I was. And when I came out of that experience, I no longer sought that desire to determine who I was going to be. I became more comfortable with who I was. And that was my first step towards what next. To answer your question, I think it was born then, because I could not see myself following leadership without having an opportunity to direct that leadership. And so consequently, the seeds of entrepreneurship started then, and I lived it. I never held a job, although I always worked for longer than 8 months. And it kind of disturbed my father, because his generation had the specific goal of get a job, stay there for 40 years, retire out of it. And it scared him that his son was not holding a job for very long. And that's how I basically got to the point where I need to have the autonomy to make my own decisions. And little do I know that when you're an entrepreneur, you still have bosses.
Yeah.
A lot more of them. Actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Now the customer's the boss.
Yeah, the customer, health boards,
right.
The government. Yeah, and the more you develop, the more you grow, the more you experience authority in your direction. It doesn't mean it stops you.
Sure.
It just means that you have to slow down, understand what it is that obstacle is, and then apply your business desires through it. No obstacle is there for very long under entrepreneurship. It's just identifying the problem and then finding a solution.
Well, and then you also, before the restaurant business, or was it during the restaurant business, you started, you did all your work with Winnie Knoll?
Well, actually, no. Winnie Knoll was a purchase for one of my dreams.
Okay.
And that was to have a home whereas I could restore and renew myself, because the entrepreneurship is not a hourly job. Entrepreneur means you are open to receive and to be challenged 7 days a week. And being in the restaurant business is a perfect example of what I'm describing, because what you're just doing right now, you're eating food, is the most intimate thing that you can be involved in a career path, feeding someone else. How many jobs have that from beginning to end? You make it, you have it produced, and then you serve it, and then you get a result. Very few businesses have that opportunity. They make it, they don't see the result. So we were very challenged. So I always had a dream. I had a home in Northridge for 20 years, and I had a dream of having a backyard where there'd be no one there but me and God. And the Winnie Knoll farm, interesting enough, was in trouble, because the second generation was left with a problem.
Gotcha.
And Peter Noonan, I didn't know him well, but Peter Noonan, very quickly we got to become, we were comfortable with each other very quickly. Right. Let me put it that way. And he was able to accept an offer on how I could help solve some of his tax problems. And over time, I ended up buying like 175 acres over 3 or 4 years. And my goal was a real simple one. I like simplicity in life. I like it. And you know, when it's not simple, that's the first challenge I have. I have to figure out how we reduce the complication. You know, I think I want to introduce this. If you don't have a spirit of positiveness in your life, do not venture into the world of entrepreneurship. It's a
key right there.
Yeah, it's a very lost place. But anyway, we bought the property, and you talked about when you know golf course or when you know farm. They're two different animals.
Oh, well, tell me about both, I guess.
Well, the home ended up being absolutely what we dreamed about.
Okay.
You know, it was refreshing. No matter how long the day was, it was just wonderful to come and be a part, even though it was in Springfield. You know, you come up our house right now, and you'll understand exactly what I'm referring to. You'll be coming off a street called Braytonburn or Kilkenny, then all of a sudden you're there. It's like anybody that's been on the property has made a consistent comment. It's like, I didn't know this was here. And that's the feeling you get. You can't believe it's there.
Maybe
God created it, I didn't, huh?
Maybe we'll record our next podcast there.
Absolutely, you're welcome to it. But to the point, Windy Knoll Golf Course, that aspect of what property I bought was not the original goal.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not. I think it's one of the sad commentators of what happens to someone that reaches a level of success and maybe is intoxicated with it. And I call it you're drunk with the fundamentals that have to always be present in every decision you make. You know, entrepreneurship is accepting risk, but not risk without calculation.
Right.
And the lower that calculation of risk, the better the decision it is to go forward. The golf course was not very good in that calculation. We were talking about building a golf course that would require a high golf fee. What? A high golf fee in Springfield, Ohio. Secondly, it had its support to build the golf course was residential development. Homes that were going to be sold for what? $400,000 and $500,000 and $600,000 a piece.
Right.
Wait a minute. How many homes sold for $500,000 last year in Springfield? At that time, 2 or 3. And we're building how many? So it really did not have good fundamentals in place. But I engaged myself with a partner that was an idea man and did not have the operational sensitivity to figure out that this was not a good deal. Now, understand this. There was no gun in my head.
Gotcha.
That's why I said I was drunk. I was illusionary. I was power influenced. Period. So this entrepreneurship changed to one of recklessness when I did it. And, you know, it stands today. You know, golf course stands today, I think, as a true, if it continues to last, a true asset of Springfield. You know, it is a good golf course, public golf course. And
it's one of my favorites.
To that end, amen. You know, amen. Because again, Windy Knoll Farm, that idea was founded by another gentleman, 350 acres with thoroughbred horses. You know, that was a different time as well. That was the true idea for that plan. Thoroughbred racing, Kentucky bred, and those names I don't know, but there were 3 or 4 winners of the Kentucky Derby that were bred on the Windy Knoll farm.
Incredible.
Really?
Yeah.
Incredible. And you built your house there on the old farm, right?
Yes, I did. You know, one other interesting thing about the thoroughbred racing farm. When Queen Elizabeth came over here, she wanted to bring her horses. She was in New York parade, and she wanted to bring her 20 horses over here. And one of the criteria was you had 3 months or whatever that day was. You had to put the horses in quarantine because they weren't going to let horses from out of the country bring any diseases in.
Right.
So Howard Noonan built a barn on the south end of the property specifically for Queen Elizabeth's horses.
The Queen's horses.
Really?
And to that end, you know, you talk about historically things that are significant for a community to
Yeah.
boast about. I think that truly is.
I think that's very interesting.
I'm going to stay there just for a second. When the golf course failed under my authority, I think one of the things that surfaced that was absolutely unreasonable, and it was through the Turner Foundation, who, thank goodness that, you know, they're involved in Springfield because they're making the community better. But to the point, when they took over the property, they bought the residential, they took down all the names we had, the horse names for the streets, and they put normal street names. What? Why would you do that? That's like taking an eraser after you wrote down the first sentence of the Declaration of Independence and erasing it.
Right.
You know, that's part of the history. Why would you do that? So they got a call from me, and you know, they whoever was making that decision realized, oops, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
And so they came back and they named the streets after those famous horses.
So Kilkenny, Brightburn, I mean,
Kilkenny was there,
Kilkenny was there.
but all the other street names, Brightburn, that's all horse names.
Really?
Yeah, all horse names. Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, to that history, I mean, there
Yeah.
should be a plaque or something that continues to be
absolutely.
reverberate, so that Springfield is known for. No one else is known for that.
Right.
You know, that's kind of the history that I bought into.
We quarantined the Queen's horses. That's awesome.
That's right. Put those babies away.
Yeah.
If we could maybe start to wrap up, you as being a very successful entrepreneur and being in all these businesses, what do you think if someone's just starting out, just trying to get on the path, maybe they're sick and tired of doing the job and working for a boss, and maybe now they want to take a journey and start to be an entrepreneur, what are the first steps? That you
Don't
would
do
take?
it. No, I mean, seriously, that's a heck of a way to start a journey when you're asking someone to give you the motivation to do so.
Okay.
You have to be motivated, period. Because,
Well, how do you stay motivated? What kind of activities?
Do you think it's about developing habits?
well, I think it ties into, you know, the plumber, the electrician, the best of those people are the ones that study and work to be the best. You know, someone says, was he born with the ability to hit the ball that well, or did he learn how to hit it that well? You know, I can tell you that most of the time, it's a studious effort. It is a specific energy that is directed to coming from the individual, but directed to the specific specificity. What's the word? Specificity. Specificity. Tell me out.
Specificity.
Specificity.
Something, I don't know.
You got that word. Very specific to that endeavor, you know, to that subject. And I think that motivation, though, is all by itself. It's not anchored into any particular trade or anything. It's just you have this strong desire to be the best at it, and then you start working along that journey to discover what it takes to be the best. So your question, I'll go a little further. The motivation is there. How do you stay motivated? Well, you have to feed yourself. If you're hungry, you eat. If you want to stay motivated, you have to surround yourself with thoughts that are motivating. And you know, I personally found resources in books from other people that were successful. And you know, I'm going to tell you a cute story here. It's worth telling. I remember when I had reached a point in the restaurant business when I was very successful at it, very successful. And I used to tell the story in my presentations with the managers. I said, I'm going to just give you a little story of the outside world. Someone is interested in your success. They're interested in our success. And they want to sit down and talk to me. Here's how this conversation would go. I'd sit down with them and they'd ask me the question like you just asked me, how do you become a successful restaurateur? Well, you get up every morning. First thing you do is be highly motivated. You have a positive attitude about the day. You have a positive attitude about your life, and then you go out and you interact with the people that are following you. And what do you do with them? Very same thing. You say good morning to them.
Sure.
You're instilling positive. You're correcting, positively directing them along the lines that you have drawn in your map to success. About that time, that person that's listening to the story would say, I've heard that. I know that. I know that. And then, okay, well, let me go further. Yeah, I go further. Right? Say one more. Oh, I know that. And I'd be probably halfway in the story, and I'd be convinced they knew it. And at that point, I'd stop and I'd say, why are you asking me that question? I don't understand. I want to know how you're successful. I'm telling you.
Right.
And if you're doing that, there's absolutely no reason why you're not successful if you follow that recipe. How does Rudys Smokehouse make a brisket, cook it for 14 hours, a brisket times thousands, and be successful? Follow the recipe. You don't get caught up in the distraction. You don't get caught up in something else. You follow that recipe. It's A, B, C. When you find a default, you find someone skipped B. They want that C. That's the secret. And to the point, how do you stay motivated? Realizing that every morning, not some, every morning, you get up, right attitude, positive reinforcement, post it on the mirror. That's the thing that separates you. What I'm just describing, it separates you from all the rest. Because you become uniquely different than the rest. And what you're putting your effort into is something very positive and very healthy. And that's what the Lord wants us to do in growing His kingdom. You asked me the question a little earlier.
Right.
Is how did I become a kingdom worker?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm no longer a full-time businessman. I'm a part-time businessman. And I share that with him because it really was an interesting story. I went to the Philippines as the business counterpart to their goals and objectives. And I'll make this story as short as I can because I know you guys are getting nervous and the clock's ticking. But to the point, in the work that I was doing as the businessman, there was a woman there that was a minister. We call it ministry, minister. Was in ministry. And she said to me, she said, Rudy, she says, I really, I'm interested in how you're speaking, how you're teaching. But you know something, I got to tell you this. She says, you are a kingdom worker. And I says, a what? A kingdom worker, kings. I don't understand what that means. What's that mean? It's you're growing God's kingdom. That's the way you influence other people, period. I said, okay. Went back, opened up the Bible, understood what she was trying to say. From that point, I came back to my organization, got a manager's meeting, and I said, you'll be the first that I'm going to introduce this subject to. I'm a full-time kingdom worker and a part-time businessman. And that's the way that was going to do.
Yeah, you said what it means to be a kingdom worker is that when you leave, the kingdom's going to be bigger than it was when you got here.
Yeah, one person or one idea that grows someone closer to God or introduces Jesus Christ into their life.
Sure.
We don't have to be at the end of the story. We can be at the beginning.
Well, before we wrap up, I know you wanted to take a second to talk about the pregnancy resource. So we got about maybe a minute and a half.
Well, Pregnancy Resources is very special. They're one of the sponsoring charities in Springfield, Ohio, and they've got today, every Tuesday, there is an open invitation to what grows the charity in Springfield, and they're it today. Well, I don't know that they're any different than any other charity organization other than they follow the recipe too. Okay. They work hard. They get up in the morning and they have that spirit that God gives all of us, the Holy Spirit, and they're driven to do well in the community. So to that end, I want to just open up and maybe close this way. in everything that I've ever achieved in this journey, and it's still going on. I'm a young man with lots of opportunities ahead. I look to grow the kingdom. And I'm not sure that, the end has a specific game that the kingdom grows as a result of it, but I do know that pregnancy resources and those like them in Springfield need help. They don't get up in the morning and have it resolved. They get up in the morning and say, we need. And to that end, I would invite anyone that has the opportunity to see this podcast to press into a Nehemiah Foundation and see what they've got growing in their charitable work, and look into pregnant resources and see what they need. And just maybe the kingdom does grow as a result of your motivation to grow the kingdom.
That's incredible. And you can do it. So stop by Rudy's on Tuesday, and a portion of the sale goes to help that ministry, right?
50%.
50%.
50% of the sales that they generate specifically goes to their charitable event.
We'll be here
One day it'll be
more
100%.
often.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Mr. Mosketti, thank you so much. I'm inspired to go. I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
That message right there resonated with me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I met you guys. You guys are successful entrepreneurs as well, aren't you?
Well, we're on our way. We're just trying to stay motivated and maybe inspire others and share.
Spreading that positivity.
Well,
Yeah, like you were talking about.
Well, I think you both have it. I'm not sure about you. You got it? I'm not sure about you. You got it? Because no one can give it to you. Yeah. No one can give it to you. Yeah. That's got to be yours. It's yours. You own it, and you commit to it, and you grow. Yeah. You
Never let anybody talk you out of it.
No way.
That's right. No nays there. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to our episode here with Rudy Mosketti. If you have any questions, just drop them below. If they have questions for you, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, my phone number? 937-206-8188. If I can help you grow the kingdom, call me.
Incredible.
Perfect.
All right, guys. You guys have a great day. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you later.